What if the greatest obstacle standing between you and your dreams wasn't the world around you, but the doubt within you? In this story, a young blacksmith named Akio faces his deepest fears and insecurities when tasked with forging a legendary sword for a renowned warrior. But as he battles his inner demons, he discovers that true confidence isn't about perfection. It's about finding strength in the struggle. Join me on this powerful journey of self-discovery and learn how we can all overcome self-doubt to unlock our full potential. In the kingdom of Hanagi, there lived a young blacksmith named Akio, who was renowned for his skill in crafting ordinary tools, hoes, plows, and horseshoes. But while the village praised his ability to forge common items, Akio's heart longed for something more. He wanted to create a sword so masterful that even the greatest warrior in the land would seek him out. Yet, despite his aspirations, Akio was consumed by self-doubt. Every time he attempted to forge a sword, something would go wrong. The blade would crack, the edge wouldn't sharpen, or the metal would lose its temper. Each failure chipped away at his confidence until Akio stopped trying altogether. One evening, while closing up his workshop, a hooded stranger entered the forge. The man's presence was commanding, though his face was hidden. "I seek the finest blacksmith in this land," the stranger said, his voice calm but firm. "I need a sword unlike any other." Akio hesitated. "You must be mistaken. I am no master swordsmith. I can only craft simple tools." The stranger stepped closer and lifted the hood from his head, revealing a scarred face. His eyes were piercing but not unkind. "I am Jiro, the swordsman who has fought in 100 battles. I have heard of your skills, Akio. You can do far more than you believe." Akio's heart raced. Jiro was a legendary warrior known across the kingdom. The idea that such a man would seek him out filled him with equal parts fear and excitement. I'm not sure I can help you," Akio stammered. Jiro studied the young blacksmith for a moment and then said, "I have something for you." From beneath his cloak, he produced an old, rusted sword. The blade was chipped and dull, and the hilt was worn. "This sword has seen me through countless battles. But now it is tired, and it needs to be reforged." Akio took the sword in his hands, feeling its weight. It was heavy, both physically and metaphorically. "You want me to reforge this?" he asked, incredulous. "Yes," Jiro said. "But understand this, Akio. The strength of a sword does not come from its past. It comes from the hands that shape it and the spirit of the one who wields it." Despite his reservations, Akio agreed to take on the task. He spent days examining the sword, wondering how he could bring it back to life. The more he studied it, the more his doubts grew. He had never reforged something so old, so worn. Every time he thought he had a plan, his mind was flooded with thoughts of failure. What if I ruin the sword? What if I make it worse? One night, Akio sat by the forge, staring at the rusted blade, when an elderly woman entered the workshop. She was wrinkled and hunched, but her eyes gleamed with wisdom. She was Sora, a healer and herbalist from the village, known for her deep knowledge of nature and its mysteries. "You look troubled, young Akio," she said, her voice soft yet steady. Akio sighed. "I've been tasked with reforging this sword for a great warrior, but I fear I am not skilled enough. Every time I try to begin, my hands freeze, and my mind fills with doubt." Sora nodded knowingly. "Self-doubt is like a poison, Akio. It clouds the mind and paralyzes the heart. But doubt only has the power you give it. Would you like to hear a story?" Akio, always drawn to Sora's wisdom, nodded. "Long ago," Sora began, "there was a river that flowed through a vast valley. The river was strong and full of life. But one day, a boulder fell from the mountain above, blocking its path. The river, once mighty, now trickled weakly around the stone. The river began to doubt its own strength. It believed that it could no longer flow freely, that the boulder was too great an obstacle. For years the river remained weak, until one day a storm came. The rain poured down, filling the river with more water than it had ever known. With this surge, the river found its strength again, and it pushed the boulder aside, continuing on its path. Akio frowned. "But what does this have to do with me?" Sora smiled. The river thought the boulder was its enemy, but in truth, the boulder was an opportunity for the river to discover its strength. Like the river, you see your doubt as an obstacle, but in facing it, you will find your true power. Akio sat in silence for a moment, letting Sora's words sink in. He realized that the problem wasn't the task in front of him. It was his own lack of belief in his abilities. The sword wasn't the obstacle. His doubt was. The next morning, Akio approached the forge with a renewed sense of purpose. He lit the fire and carefully placed the old sword into the flames, watching as the metal began to glow. He worked with a calm, steady hand, not rushing the process, but allowing himself to move with the rhythm of the forge. As he hammered the blade, Akio felt the weight of his doubt begin to lift. Each strike of the hammer was like dropping a pebble of uncertainty, just as the monk had once taught him in a distant memory of his childhood. With every blow, the sword began to take shape, its imperfections fading as Akio infused it with his skill and spirit. Days passed, and Jiro returned to check on Akio's progress. The young blacksmith was exhausted but satisfied. He presented the newly forged sword to the warrior. Jiro held the sword in his hands, feeling its balance, testing its edge. A smile crept across his scarred face. "This is more than a sword, Akio. It is a testament to your strength. You have reforged not only this blade, but your confidence as well." Akio nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. For the first time in his life, he truly believed in his abilities. The sword had become a symbol, not just of his skill as a blacksmith, but of his journey to overcome self-doubt. As Jiro prepared to leave, he turned to Akio and said, "Remember this. Confidence is not about never failing. It is about moving forward, despite the fear of failure. You will face more challenges, more moments of doubt. But now you know that you have the strength to overcome them." Akio watched as the warrior walked into the horizon. The sword gleaming in the sunlight. He knew there would be other swords to forge, other obstacles to face. But from that day forward, whenever self-doubt crept into his mind, he would remember the river and the boulder, the sword and the forge, and the strength he had discovered within himself. For Akio, the journey of overcoming doubt was not a single event, but a lifelong practice. And with each new challenge, his confidence grew, shaped by the fire of adversity and the quiet knowledge that he had the power to forge his own path. The lessons of the story. Self-doubt is a natural part of growth. Akio's struggles show that doubt is not something to be ashamed of, but rather a companion on the path to improvement. Confidence comes from taking action. Akio was paralyzed by his fear of failure until he began working on the sword. The simple act of starting is often the hardest part of overcoming self-doubt. Challenges reveal our inner strength. Like the river moving the boulder, it's often in the face of our greatest obstacles that we discover our true capabilities. Failure is part of the process. Akio had failed many times before, but each failure brought him closer to success. Confidence is not the absence of failure, but the ability to keep moving forward. In the end, Akio's journey teaches us that overcoming self-doubt and building confidence is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the absence of fear. It's about embracing the challenges, taking that first step, and trusting in our ability to grow through the process. Akio's journey shows us that overcoming self-doubt and building confidence is not about waiting for the perfect moment, but about taking action and trusting in your own strength. Like the sword he forged, each of us has the power to shape our own path, no matter how daunting the obstacles may seem. If you feel inspired by this story and are ready to begin your own journey of growth and self-belief, take that first step today. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about overcoming challenges, building confidence, and finding your inner strength, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that inspire, motivate, and uplift. And if you have your own experiences with self-doubt or a story about finding your confidence, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you overcame your own challenges. Remember, every like, comment, and subscription helps support this channel, so we can continue bringing you more Zen-inspired